Hello and welcome back to this channel. Let's continue our series providing insights into the question, when will I receive my interview notification, or when will my interview be conducted? So far, we have considered two of the new factors that now come into play and affect the scheduling of diversity visa interviews. First, we saw when you submitted your DS-260. And then quite recently, we saw new steps or new activities in the processing of cases or the processing of applications. So in today's video, we will be considering the third new factor that affects the scheduling of diversity visa cases in the context of today's diversity visa program. That third factor is the most popular, but so far in the DV 2025 program, it is not being discussed, I would say yet, because the first CR data have so far not been published. Beginning on January 1st, 2025, that third factor will be one of the most discussed alongside the monthly cutoff numbers published in the visa bulletin. And the new factor in question is the embassy where you are to be interviewed. We speak of embassy performance or the performance of your embassy. That's a new factor that now affects how diversity visa cases are scheduled for interview. And that is a direct result of the replacement of the regional queue system by the embassy queue system that I have spoken about in a number of past videos. In the last video, I spoke to you concerning interview processing. That is, the visa office confirming to KCC that there are visa numbers available for a certain number of cases, and that leads KCC to go about scheduling interviews for that number of cases. Now, prior to COVID-19, in the cases that have already submitted their DS-260, KCC went about identifying the cases whose DS-260s had been processed already and which had the lowest case numbers in the region concerned. Those were the cases that were scheduled for interview. But in today's diversity visa program, KCC does not only consider the cases that have completed case processing or application processing, they also take into consideration what the various embassies intend to achieve during the month in question. And the visas or visa numbers that are available will be distributed according to that reality. And that is why an applicant could have a low case number or a relatively low case number being assigned at one embassy, and that applicant is not scheduled for interview, whereas another applicant with a higher case number at another embassy gets scheduled for interview. All because of this new reality concerning the performance of your different embassies. Prior to COVID-19, this discussion concerning the embassy where applicants are assigned was actually inexistent. And the reason for that was because all embassies had good performance. But once again, things are no longer the same. So in today's diversity visa program, where you are to be interviewed, that is the embassy or consulate, plays a major part when it comes to when your interview is supposed to take place. Now, for those of you who do not understand, when we say the performance of your embassy or the embassy performance, is actually how fast your embassy interviews diversity visa cases. If your embassy interviews diversity visa cases at a fast rate, we say your embassy has a good performance. If your embassy interviews diversity visa cases at a slow rate, we say your embassy has a low performance or bad performance. We could also speak of your embassy not performing at all or not working. That is, your embassy is not interviewing any diversity visa cases. So look out for discussions concerning the performance of your embassy beginning on January 1st, 2025, when the first SEAC data will be published. Now, another thing that I must add is that embassy performance could change for some embassy from one year to the other. Generally, at the beginning of the program or before we receive the first SEAC data, the assumption is that embassies that performed well in the previous year are expected to perform well in the new diversity visa program. And those that did not perform well the year before are expected not to perform well in the new diversity visa program. And that is what happens generally. But there could be a few exceptions, as was the case with the Nairobi, Kenya embassy in the DV 2024 program. Prior to DV 2024, that is during DV 2022 and DV 2023, the Nairobi embassy had a bad performance. And so it was generally expected that going into the DV 2024 program, that would have continued. But that was not the case. The Nairobi, Kenya embassy in the DV 2024 program turned out to be one of the best performing embassies from the Africa region. So at this point, we can only assume based on past performance or performance from the previous year. But as the program goes forward, we will have a better appreciation of the performance of your different embassies. So once again, the performance of the embassy where you are to be interviewed is a new factor that has now come into play and affects when you are supposed to receive your interview notification, when your diversity visa interview is supposed to be conducted. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching it. Look out for the next one in this series when we will consider the next factor. But until the next video, God willing, goodbye.